If you're not building the walls of your homes to have continuous exterior insulation and a rain screen, I think you might be a big dummy. Let's find out why today on Smith House. Howdy y'all, it's Jordan Smith. I'm a design builder down here in Austin, Texas with Smith House Company, and we believe that houses should be built to be beautiful, functional, resilient, and healthy. And today we are going to jump right into an affordable way of achieving those goals, especially from the health and resiliency side. This whole video idea came up when I was talking to a friend of mine at the International Builder Show in Vegas, and he's building spec homes down in San Antonio, and he's building them with a pretty high performance mindset, and he's selling them at a profit. I was like, man, this is amazing, because most spec home builders just build absolute garbage and pawn it off to their customers, make them sign a warranty, which is really we'll cover this stuff because we're required by law, and everything else you're on your own. So spec home builders, if you want to know why spec home builders are usually so bad, comment below, and I'll do a whole series on how spec home builders, in my opinion, try to cheat the customers in the long term. But that's a topic for another video down the road. Today, I want to talk about the positive side of how we can build a really good, affordable, high-performance home. Now, I'm going to say affordable with an asterisk, because a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is going to be more expensive than what your average spec home builder is doing. But we've already talked about what they're doing and why we don't want to do that. But we're not that much more expensive than a standard, say, zip system wall. Let's just jump right into it and see what I'm talking about. So in general, an affordable house is going to have a 2x4, 16-inch on-center framed wall. That's just the standard. That's sort of the smallest you can get. And it's very well known in the industry. People, framers can throw up a 16 on center wall all day long. 2x4 is cheaper than 2x6. And so that's going to be your most affordable wall. If I was just building a straight affordable house and I wanted it to be airtight, I'd probably do a 2x4 wall, and then I would put a zip system, zip sheathing on the top of it. That's that green board y'all have all seen. And what that does is it integrates your OSB and your WRB all into one board, and then you tape all the seams. And I love that so much, because you take care of your water infiltration, you take care of your air infiltration, and it makes just a really tight shell, especially if you get your details right. Another thing that I really like about the zip system is it has elevated the industry. People are now used to spending more money on their sheathing than what they did, 10, 20 years ago before zip hit the market. It's just sort of changed everybody's expectations. They're like, yeah, I'm going to build this wall and it's going to have the green board on it. And I know that's going to be more expensive than OSB and a house wrap, but I feel like the benefits of the air sealing especially are better. So that is thanks to Huber for doing that. That has been fantastic. But I now feel like it's so ubiquitous. We're using it everywhere. And the mindset has changed. I'm like, is there any way different that we could build walls that might take that extra few dollars from OSB to zip and apply it to something that may make even more of a difference than having an integrated WRB? And I believe there is. And this wall is what it is here. So we've got a 2x4 on 16 centers. Then we have OSB, just plain OSB on top of that. I'm showing it here with Tyvek, and really that Tyvek, if I was building this, I would add the Tyvek, because on a 1,400 square foot home, it's going to add like $250. So I would definitely use it, but you don't have to, because technically this polyiso board, this Sika board, RMAX that you see out here, this is actually can be your WRB and your air barrier all in one. If you tape those seams, it will act as a weather resistant barrier, and it will air seal. You really want to make sure that you seal all of the seams, whether you're using zip or the continuous foam board. You want to tape all of those seams, because that is your air barrier. You want to go from your slab all the way up over the roof deck and back down. If you can draw with a red marker all the way around your house, a la Steve Basic. You start here, you go all the way around from the slab, up the wall, over the roof, back down and around. You can go all the way around without lifting your pin. You know, in all cross sections, you know that you have a good design. And this system really allows you to do that. It's like building the Monopoly house, the green zip houses, but now we're building it out of foil face. So it's going to be a silver Monopoly box. What I like about this versus the zip is now we have exterior insulation too. And that makes such a huge difference on the performance. We'll get into some of the values here in a second. On top of the foam, we have our furring strips. And then on top of the furring strips, we have our siding. The siding can be anything you want. You name it. It can be fiberboard. It can be wood, whatever you want. And you see from down here at the bottom, we've got this air gap. And that air gap is the key. It allows this to dry back behind that siding. The siding's able to dry on the backside. The wall's able to dry. Everything is able to dry. And we have a very happy wall. We also have a higher performance wall. That air gap actually adds to the thermal performance of the wall. There's a lot of papers written on how that works, but basically we're getting from somewhere between 0.3 to maybe even as high as 3 R value out of that air gap. So you get thermal performance out of that air gap. You also get drying out of that air gap. The air gets sucked up from the bottom with stack effect, and it can ventilate here at the top of the wall. I like this little detail where you just turn the siding sideways and it can ventilate through these cracks. When I get to the roof, which will be a whole different video, it can also ventilate all the way out through the ridge cap up top, which will be really cool. And then on the inside, we just have fiberglass insulation. That's all we need. We just need an R13 fiberglass insulation, and then our OSB, house wrap, foam, air gap, and siding. Super easy to build, but let me show you what it does from a thermal performance standpoint. When we're talking about high performance, this is amazing. All right, so with our standard 2x4 on 16 centers with fiberglass insulation, we're getting 12.215 R value for that. Not great, right? It will pass code, but depending on how you read code, but at any rate, it should barely squeak out by the skin of its teeth, but you're only getting R12 out of it. If you go to this wall assembly, so all we've done is we've added exterior foam and we have added that air gap. We jumped to 19.9. We're almost at 20 R value, from 12.2 up to almost 20. That is an incredible performance leap. That's like over 1.6 times the insulation value, the thermal resistance value. Plus you have all your air sealing, which is incredibly important. More important than thermal is air, but I'm assuming that you're taking care of air both ways. So you're taking care of your air, and now you have that great thermal performance. And because you have that air gap behind your siding, that rain screen, your siding is going to last longer. Your paint's going to last longer. Your wall won't get mildew and rot in it from condensation inside because you've got that insulation on the exterior, getting rid of all your cold condensating surfaces. Everything gets better with exterior insulation and an air gap. And I know what you're thinking. Well, that sounds great, Jordan, but how much is this going to cost me? I am glad you asked because I did the math. All right, so we're doing a 48 by 28 home. Again, small home, single story, affordable. We're thinking affordable here, so small. Best way to build great homes is small. I live in a house under 1,400 square foot, and I've got 4 kids. So if you say, I can't live in a small house, come talk to me, bro. It's hard, but we do it. We do it, and it works well. So 1,344 square foot house, that's about 50 sheets of sheet good, right? 50 pieces of material. So if we do that with zip, with today's prices at $37.99 per sheet, we're somewhere around $1,900 for all of the zip to go around the entire house and up the gable. So we're saying this is a gable end with a 412 pitch, somewhere around $1,900 worth of zip board. not tape. Tape is going to be on top of that, but both systems take tape. So I'm just sort of ignoring that for a second, even though I think that the foam tape is going to probably be cheaper than the zip tape because you can stick to the foil so much easier than you can stick to the WRB that's integrated onto the zip. But that's a whole different discussion, and we're not going to be splitting hairs. With the exterior insulation, and we're saying that we're doing 1 inch of RMAX polyiso. Current price on that, I'm coming up with somewhere like maybe $29.56, almost $30 a sheet for that, and about $23.75 for a sheet of OSB. So all in, we're somewhere around that $53 for the OSB plus the RMAX. That times 50 sheets, and we're at $2,667. So we have a delta, $2,667 minus $1,899.50. We're at $767.50. So we have $760, $770 worth of increase on a 1,400 square foot home. So, I mean, in the big scheme of things, that is not very much. Now, there will be a little bit more labor because you're making 2 trips around the house, but nominal. It's not gonna break the bank. Let's say that you have your framing crew out there for a whole nother day, and you spend another $1,000 or however many guys you've got out there. So yes, it's going to cost a little bit more in labor too, but we're not talking about big numbers. We're talking, $1,000 to $2,000 to have the exterior insulation. And again, we're going from 12.2 for a standard insulated 2x4 wall all the way up to almost 20. That is a huge gain. You're spending about 1.4 times more, and you're getting about 1.6, maybe almost 1.7 times the performance. So your dollar to performance is just incredible. And that's just on the thermal performance. That's not including everything else with that rain screen of your paint lasting longer, your siding lasting longer, your wall lasting longer. That's the rain screen. And then inside the wall, if you have any moisture trying to get out and you're living in a cold climate, so it's hot on the inside, hot and moist on the inside, and cold on the outside, any moisture that hits a cold exterior wall is going to condensate. And if that happens to be inside the wall, you're going to have water inside the wall. Muy no bueno. If on the inverse, you live where I live and you keep it so cold, you're at 67 degrees on the inside and it happens to be 99 degrees on the outside and 100% humidity. Well, any air that gets past that cladding and hits a spot that isn't well insulated on that sheathing is going to condensate and is going to cause you problems. By putting the insulation on the outside of your sheathing, you solve all those problems. You have put the warm, fuzzy jacket on the outside of the body. It is the right thing to do. And you don't have all the thermal bridging because instead of having insulation stud, insulation stud, insulation stud, all the way down, you have just a single layer of straight insulation all the way around the house and all the way up over the house, which will be the discussion on the next video of how this roof works. It is so cool. It's a ventilated attic that takes up no more than just a regular roof, and you can do asphalt shingles instead of metal, and you can spray foam if you want because you're not spray foaming against that decking. You have ventilation under the decking. Your shingles stay nice and cool, nice and happy, and if you have to replace the decking underneath the shingles, you just pull it off and replace it and go. It's a super cool video that I'm excited about shooting next, so stay tuned for that. If you have any other questions, if whatever my rambling didn't make sense for you, put them in the comments below. Hit me up over at Instagram. I'm always on Instagram, so hit me up over there as well. If you've got any questions, I will try to get back with you. I really am excited about doing more educational videos like this that really show the in-depth of building science and also good design. Like our first mantra is we've got to build beautiful buildings. So I'd love to talk about some design stuff too and how to make beautiful, functional, resilient, and healthy homes. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe if we've earned it. It really helps us out as we're talking to different people that help sponsor this show and get it on YouTube. I'm a full-time builder, full-time designer, and this takes time to do. And it's so nice to have those relationships with manufacturers that I can say, hey, we're about to use this product and I'd love to shoot a thing for you. And that is easier if a lot of y'all subscribe. So if It's not too much trouble. And if we've earned it, like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next time on Smith House.